You think it's harmless, don't you? Just a quick moment of release, stress relief, nothing wrong with it. But here's what nobody tells you. The way you're doing it right now might be slowly destroying your ability to perform with a real partner. You're training your body to fail. And the worst part, you have no idea it's happening. I'm Dr. Natalia Parker, and I'm going to show you exactly what's going wrong. Let me be clear about something first. This isn't about shame. This isn't about morality. This is about function. Your body is a learning machine. Every single time you do this, you're teaching your nervous system a lesson. You're creating a map in your brain that says, this is how pleasure works. This is the rhythm. This is the pressure. This is the speed. And if that map doesn't match reality, if it doesn't match what happens with another person, your body gets confused. It stops responding. You lose control, you lose hardness, you lose sensation, and you have no idea why. There are 3 specific mistakes almost every man makes, and I need you to understand something critical before we go any further. These aren't just bad habits. They're programming errors. They're literally rewiring your sexual response system. And the longer you keep making them, the harder it becomes to fix. So stay with me, because what I'm about to show you might explain things you've been dealing with for years without understanding the cause. The first mistake? You're doing it like you're being chased, fast, urgent, hidden, trying to finish before someone catches you. Does that sound familiar? Most men started this way as teenagers, hiding in the bathroom, rushing through it, always looking over their shoulder. And here's the problem, that pattern never left. You're still doing it the same way, same speed, same urgency, same mental state. You think it's just a quick release, but what you're actually doing is training your body for premature ejaculation. Think about it. Every time you rush through this, you're teaching your nervous system that sexual arousal should be fast and urgent. You're conditioning your body to reach climax as quickly as possible. Your brain doesn't distinguish between practice and performance. It doesn't know the difference between solo and partnered activity. It just learns the pattern you repeat most often. So when you're with a partner, when the moment actually matters, your body does exactly what you trained it to do. It rushes, it finishes before you're ready, and you're left wondering why you can't last, why you can't control it. The answer? You programmed yourself this way. But here's what makes it worse. And this is something most men don't realize until it's already affecting their relationships. When you consistently train your body for speed, you're also creating an anxiety loop. Your mind starts to expect failure. It anticipates that you won't be able to control yourself. So the next time you're with someone, there's this underlying panic running through your head. What if I finish too fast again? What if I can't hold it? What if she notices? And that panic, it makes everything worse. It creates performance anxiety that feeds back into the problem. You're stuck in a cycle where the fear of quick release actually causes quick release. Your nervous system is on high alert, which triggers the exact response you're trying to avoid. And there's another layer to this that most men never consider. When you train your body to associate arousal with urgency, you're also training it to bypass all the other aspects of healthy sexual response. You're skipping the buildup. You're ignoring the sensations along the way. You're not learning to recognize the different stages of arousal. You're just going from 0 to climax as fast as possible. This means you never develop the awareness needed to control yourself. You never learn to recognize when you're approaching the point of no return. You never practice backing off, slowing down, or redirecting your focus. Now, before I show you how to fix this, I need to tell you about the second mistake because this one is even more damaging, and honestly, this is the one that's affecting the most men right now, especially younger guys who grew up with unlimited access to something that's fundamentally changing how male sexuality works. But I'll get to that in just a moment. First, let me ask you something important. Have you noticed that it's getting harder to get aroused by normal things? Have you noticed that you need more stimulation? More intensity, more novelty to feel the same excitement you used to feel? Have you noticed that your mind wanders during real intimacy, that you need to think about other things to maintain your arousal? If you have, keep watching, because what I'm about to explain will make everything click into place. The solution to the first mistake is actually straightforward, but it requires discipline and consistency. You need to retrain your body completely. Instead of making the goal to finish, make the goal to feel. Slow down dramatically. Breathe deeply. Pay attention to every sensation in your body. Notice where you feel tension. Notice where you feel pleasure. Notice the progression of your arousal. And here's the key technique that changes everything. When you feel yourself getting close to climax, stop completely, not slow down. Stop. Let the sensation drop back down to maybe 60 or 70%. Then start again, slowly. Build back up, and when you get close again, stop again. This technique is called edging, and it's one of the most powerful tools for building control over your sexual response. You're teaching your nervous system that arousal doesn't have to equal immediate release. You're building tolerance to high levels of excitement. You're creating space between stimulus and response. You're developing awareness of your own arousal curve. And most importantly, you're proving to yourself that you can control this, that you're not a slave to your impulses, that you can choose when to climax instead of having it happen to you. Do this consistently, I mean really consistently, for 3 to 4 weeks, and you'll notice something remarkable. Your ability to last will improve naturally without any medication or special techniques. Your confidence will return because you'll know you have control. You won't be dominated by that panic anymore. You won't be wondering if this is going to be another embarrassing situation. You'll know you can handle it, but you have to be consistent. This isn't a one-time fix. It's not something you do once and forget about. It's a retraining process that requires repetition until the new pattern becomes automatic. Now, the second mistake. This one is harder to admit, and most men won't acknowledge it even when they know it's true. But it's absolutely critical we talk about this because it's destroying your natural sexual response system. You're using something that's rewiring your brain in ways that make real intimacy almost impossible. You're watching it, you're depending on it, and every time you use it, you're making the problem worse. I'm talking about pornography. Here's what you need to understand at a fundamental level. Pornography is not real sex. It's not even close. It's a performance designed for cameras. It's edited, engineered, and calculated to spike your dopamine levels as high as possible in the shortest amount of time. Every camera angle is chosen to maximize visual stimulation. Every sound is enhanced to trigger arousal. Every cut, every transition, every scene change is designed to keep your brain flooded with novelty and stimulation. This is not what sex looks like. This is not what arousal feels like. This is not what intimacy is, but your brain doesn't know that. Your brain just knows that when you watch this content, you get a massive dopamine hit, higher than almost anything else in your life, higher than accomplishing something at work, higher than exercising, higher than socializing. It's an artificial spike that your brain starts to crave. And here's where the real problem begins. Your brain adapts. It builds tolerance. It starts to expect that level of intensity just to feel normal arousal. So you need more novelty, more extreme content, more tabs open at once, more stimulation, just to feel the same level of excitement you used to get from basic content. This is called desensitization, and it's happening faster than you think, especially if you started young, especially if you've been using this content regularly for years. Your baseline for arousal keeps shifting higher and higher. What used to excite you doesn't work anymore. You need something new, something different, something more intense. And this continues in a spiral until normal sexual stimuli barely register at all. What happens next is the truly scary part. And this is where I see men in their 20s and 30s coming to me completely confused about why their bodies aren't working. You start to notice that real people don't excite you the way they used to. Your partner's body doesn't create the same response. Normal touch, normal intimacy, normal visual attraction, it all feels muted, dull, insufficient. Your brain is expecting that artificial intensity, that constant novelty, that perfect lighting and camera angles, and reality can't compete. When the moment comes to actually perform with a real person, your body doesn't respond the way it should. You can't get hard, or you get partially hard but can't maintain it, or you feel almost nothing at all and you need to close your eyes and fantasize about what you watched earlier just to function. This has a name in medical literature, porn-induced erectile dysfunction. We call it PIDE, and it's affecting men in their 20s and 30s at absolutely alarming rates. 20 years ago, erectile dysfunction in men under 40 was extremely rare. Now, it's becoming common. And the primary variable that changed is unlimited access to high-speed internet content. But here's what most men don't realize, and this is critical to understanding how to fix this. This isn't a physical problem with your body. There's nothing wrong with your cardiovascular system. Your blood flow is fine. Your testosterone levels are probably normal. Your nerves work. Your physical equipment functions. The problem is entirely in your brain. Your brain has been conditioned to respond only to the artificial intensity of a screen. It's like training yourself to only taste food if it's covered in extreme amounts of salt and spice. Eventually, normal flavors stop registering as food. Your taste buds still work, but your brain doesn't recognize normal taste as satisfying anymore. So what's the fix? You need to disconnect completely. And I don't mean forever, necessarily. I mean you need to give your brain a complete reset period. Stop relying on visual content entirely. Give your brain a break from that artificial intensity for at least 30 days, ideally 60 to 90. This sounds impossible to most men when I first suggest it, but it's the only way to restore your natural sensitivity. You need to teach your brain to respond to normal stimulation again, to reconnect with your own natural arousal patterns without external artificial stimulation. During this reset period, use your imagination instead. Use your memory of real experiences. Use fantasy scenarios you create in your mind. You can even use written material or audio content if you need something, because these engage different neural pathways and require your brain to fill in the details, which is much healthier than passive visual consumption. The point is to teach your brain to generate its own arousal response again instead of depending on external visual stimulation. This is genuinely hard at first. Your brain will resist intensely. It's used to that easy dopamine flood. It's used to infinite novelty at the click of a button. Going back to just your imagination feels boring and insufficient. You might not even be able to get aroused at first. This is normal. This is your brain in withdrawal. It's recalibrating, and if you stick with it for a few weeks, something incredible happens. Your sensitivity starts to return. You begin to respond to real touch again, to real presence, to actual connection with another person. Your erections come back naturally. Your desire comes back, but it's directed at real people instead of screens. I've seen this transformation hundreds of times in my practice. Men who couldn't function with their partners, who were convinced they had some physical problem, who thought they needed medication, they recover completely just by disconnecting from artificial stimulation and allowing their brains to reset. Usually within 6 to 8 weeks, they report that sex feels completely different, better, more connected, more satisfying, because they're actually present in their bodies instead of trying to recreate what they saw on a screen. Now, before we get to the third mistake, let me ask you something. Have you been dealing with this? Have you noticed that your body doesn't respond the way it used to? Have you felt that disconnect between what you think should arouse you and what actually does? Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from, because I'm seeing men from all over the world, from every culture, every age group, struggling with the exact same pattern, and most of them have no idea what's causing it or that it's even fixable. The third mistake is more physical, but the psychological and functional impact is just as serious. It's about how you're actually touching yourself. And this is something almost nobody talks about openly, but it's destroying your ability to enjoy normal sex with a partner. It's what we call the death grip syndrome. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That same hand, that same tight pressure, that same intense grip, that same repetitive motion, the exact same way, every single time. Here's the fundamental problem. That level of pressure and that specific type of friction doesn't exist in real sex. The grip, the intensity, the exact stimulation pattern you've trained your body to need over months or years, it's not something a partner can replicate with their body. The internal pressure and texture during intercourse is completely different. The stimulation from oral contact is completely different. Even manual stimulation from someone else feels different because they're using different angles, different pressure points, different rhythms. So what happens when you're with someone? It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't provide enough stimulation. You lose your erection because your body doesn't recognize this as the path to pleasure. You can't finish no matter how long you go. You feel almost nothing and you start to panic, wondering what's wrong. And you start to think something is fundamentally broken with you. That you have some physical dysfunction, that you're not attracted to your partner, that maybe you're just not compatible sexually, but nothing is wrong with you physically. You've just conditioned your body to respond to one very specific type of stimulation. It's like only eating food with your fingers your entire life and then wondering why you can't figure out how to use a fork. The fork works fine, your mouth works fine, you've just never trained yourself to use that tool. Your nervous system has been desensitized to everything except that one specific pattern. The nerve receptors in your skin have adapted to intense pressure and specific friction patterns. They've built up tolerance. So normal touch, the kind that should feel good, the kind that's actually designed to feel good during partnered sex, barely registers. You've created a tolerance to your own pleasure. And the longer you keep doing it the same way with the same pressure, the worse this tolerance gets and the harder it becomes to respond to anything else. So, how do you fix this? The answer is variety and intentional desensitization reversal. Change everything about how you do this. Change your hand, use your non-dominant hand. Change the pressure, use much lighter touch than you're used to. Change the position you're in, change the speed, go much slower, change the rhythm, make it irregular instead of mechanical. Use lubricant every single time to reduce friction. Make it different every single time you do this. This forces your nervous system to adapt to multiple types of stimulation instead of one narrow pattern. It reawakens sensitivity across a broader range of touch. It teaches your body that pleasure can come from different sources, different intensities, different rhythms, different textures. This is how you reprogram yourself to enjoy real intimacy again. At first, it will feel less intense. You might not even be able to finish using lighter pressure or different techniques. This is normal. This is your body recognizing that it's become dependent on one specific pattern. Push through this. Keep varying your approach. Your sensitivity will gradually return. Your nerve endings will begin responding to lighter touch again. And within a few weeks, you'll notice you can achieve the same response with much less intensity and much more variety. And here's a bonus tip that most men never even think about, but that makes a massive difference in real-world sexual function. Practice with a condom. Seriously. A lot of men lose sensation or confidence or even lose their erection completely when they use protection during partnered sex. But if you practice alone, if you get used to the feeling, if you train your body to stay aroused and respond with that barrier present, it becomes completely normal. It's no longer this thing that kills the mood or creates anxiety. It's just part of the experience, something your body knows how to handle. And when you're with a partner, you'll perform with the same confidence, the same hardness, the same control, because you've already trained for that exact situation. So let me bring all of this together and show you why this matters more than you might realize. These 3 mistakes, rushing through the experience, relying on artificial visual stimulation, and using excessive pressure in one repetitive pattern, they're not just bad habits you picked up. They're not just things that would be nice to change. They're actively training your body to fail at real partnered sex. Every single time you repeat these patterns, you're reinforcing neural pathways and physical responses that make real sex harder, less satisfying, and eventually impossible without recreating those exact artificial conditions. You're creating sexual dysfunction where none existed before. You're programming yourself for premature ejaculation. You're desensitizing yourself to real human touch and attraction. You're building tolerance to pleasure that makes normal intimacy feel insufficient. And most men do all of this completely unintentionally, thinking they're just having a harmless, private moment of release. They have no idea they're systematically destroying their sexual function one repetition at a time. But here's the genuinely good news. And this is what I want you to really understand. Your body can learn new patterns just as easily as it learned these dysfunctional ones. Your nervous system is plastic. Your brain can rewire. Your sensitivity can return. Your control can be rebuilt. None of this damage is permanent if you intervene now and change the patterns. You just need to be intentional about it. You need to slow down every single time. You need to disconnect from artificial stimulation completely during a reset period. You need to introduce variety in pressure, position, and technique. And you need to do all of this consistently, not just when you remember, not just when you're motivated, but every single time. Start treating this like practice for the real thing, not just release, not just stress relief, but actual practice for functional partnered sex. Use conscious breathing to slow yourself down and increase body awareness. Use intentional control techniques like edging to build tolerance. Use focus and mindfulness to notice what you're actually feeling instead of rushing to the finish line. Notice your body's responses at different levels of arousal. Pay attention to what light touch feels like. Experiment with different types of stimulation. And within a few weeks of consistent practice with this new approach, you'll notice something fundamental shift in your body. Your erections will be stronger and more reliable because you're not trapped in performance anxiety. Your control will be dramatically better because you've actually trained for control instead of training for speed. Your sensitivity will return to normal levels because you've stopped bombarding your system with artificial intensity. And most importantly, your confidence will come back because you'll know your body works properly, you'll know you can perform when it matters, and you'll know you're not at the mercy of dysfunctional patterns anymore. Because here's the fundamental truth that I need you to understand. Your body isn't broken. There's nothing wrong with your physical equipment. There's nothing wrong with your hormones or your blood flow or your nerves. You've just been trained incorrectly through years of repetition of dysfunctional patterns. And anything that can be trained incorrectly can absolutely be trained correctly. You just have to know what you're doing. You just have to understand the science of how your nervous system learns. And you have to be willing to put in the consistent practice to create new, functional patterns. I'm Dr. Natalia Parker, and my entire focus professionally is helping men understand how their bodies actually work at a biological and neurological level. Not the myths and misconceptions that get passed around. Not the shame and embarrassment that prevents honest conversation. Not the oversimplified advice that doesn't actually address root causes. Just the real biology. Just the actual mechanics of male sexual function, just the truth about what creates dysfunction and what restores healthy function. If this information helped you understand something you've been struggling with, if it explained problems you've been having without knowing the cause, if it gave you a path forward to fix something you thought was permanent, share this video. Send it to someone who needs to hear this information. Because almost every man deals with at least one of these 3 mistakes, and most men have no idea they're creating their own dysfunction. And subscribe to this channel because in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to naturally restore your sexual energy and desire without any medication whatsoever. Just by understanding how your hormones, your nervous system, your lifestyle habits, and your daily behaviors work together to either support or destroy your sexual function. Until then, remember this. This isn't about luck. This isn't about genetics. This isn't about whether you're just naturally good or bad at sex. This is entirely about patterns. Change the pattern, change the result. It really is that simple. Your body will adapt to whatever you train it to do. So, train it correctly.